Oh, hey, hello there. I'm sorry, I apologize. I was enjoying a glass of wine and thinking about my favorite subject, or one of my favorite subjects, I should say, mythology. And wow, really weird coincidence. I just happened to be enjoying a glass of Siduri wine from Sonoma, California. The namesake, Siduri, is an ancient Mesopotamian figure, and depending on who you speak with, she's either a alewife in a Epic of Gilgamesh, she is a aspect of the goddess Ishtar, or she is the goddess of wine, beer, wisdom, merrymaking. Wait a second, this sounds kind of familiar. Wait, Dionysus and Bacchus are gods of similar aspects or properties, I should say. Could it be that they borrowed their their traditions, and names, and maybe mythologies from an earlier culture? Possibly. Well, let's get back to speaking about ancient Mesopotamia. Ancient Mesopotamia, which translate, or I should say, Mesopotamia translates to the land between rivers, grew up in an area known as the Fertile Crescent, in what is modern day Iran, Iraq, up through Syria, down through Lebanon, Israel and Palestine, and Egypt. On the east, it's the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. On the west, the Mediterranean. When the flood season happened, and this is only in ancient times, the two rivers, Tigris and Euphrates, would overflow, filling the valleys and providing water and fertile soil and nutrients to allow the growth of agriculture. Mesopotamia. Ancient Mesopotamia, specifically during the reign of Sumerians, was the birthplace of civilization. They also founded the wheel and large-scale architecture and something quite important even to today, writing, specifically called cuneiform. It's largely lost until about the 1600s when this adventurer, Pietro della Valle, traveled to the Near East, Far East, India even, and met his wife, lost his wife, traveled with her body, embalmed body, for 10 years before returning home to Rome. And on his journey, he went to the city of Persepolis and traced inscriptions of three different versions of what he thought was a story, and being three different languages: Old Persian, Akkadian, and Babylonian. After about 200 years, interest renewed with Sumerian and ancient Mesopotamian dynasties that followed, like the Akkadians and the Babylonians, and Assyrians, I should say, but who still did not understand it. During the 1800s, the translation of cuneiform really had renewed interest, and after about 100 years, it took over 100 years, and even being translated even today, for us to begin to understand the cultures of ancient Mesopotamia, beginning with Sumers, then the Akkadians, and then the Assyrians. What was very interesting and very rare, and almost just by pure luck, we found out a lot. It's because they wrote everything down in clay. The desert climate preserved the clay writing. Found religious texts, found beer rations, and we found stories. Specifically, Epic of Gilgamesh, which it's a great story you haven't read before. It is one of those ones where it has a flood, has an ark story, has a Eden and snake. Wait, this sounds just like the Torah or the Old Testament in the Bible. The book of Genesis. I think this is pretty much evidence that these particular cultures may have borrowed certain rituals or traditions from the Sumerians as well. So it's kind of going to show how the intercommunication in different cultures are. Anyways, let's get back to the heart of our story. Again, the goddess Siduri. Show you a statuette in just a moment. Epic of Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh was an ancient Sumerian king, a priest king actually, of the city of Uruk, and in biblical translation, Erech. He ruled right around the 2600 BCE era, and he was purportedly, according to his epic, 2/3 divine. The only third that was not divine was his mortality. The epic goes on to explain his different adventures. He's meeting a friend, and then he loses his friend, and in his sorrows, trying to seek immortality. We're introduced to the alewife. In the initial, get rid of that one too. Siduri. In the original writing, which unfortunately we still don't have a full, complete story, so everything is not. It's put together bits and pieces. Here we go. Siduri is not named. She's known as the alewife. Now, during the ancient times in Mesopotamia, alewives were women who ran taverns, and taverns had a interesting reputation. They would also be brothels and kind of seedy places, but at the same time, according to some other sources, that the women who ran the alehouses were actually, or alehouses and taverns were actually considered quite high in status. They were responsible for multiple things. Women also made beer as well and wine. And so it's logical now to look in the fact that the figure Siduri, to some, was not only just the god of wine, but beer, which was a daily used item in ancient Sumerian culture. Siduri, when she comes across Gilgamesh, or I should say, when Gilgamesh stumbles upon her garden or vineyard that she's making wine, and he's seeking immortality, and she pretty much summarizes by saying, and I'm actually going to, instead of summarizing, I'm going to actually read a quote. Gilgamesh, where are you running to? You'll not find the life you seek, and the gods created mankind to determine death for them. They kept life in their hands. So, Gilgamesh, feast and fill your body with delicious food. Celebrate a feast of joy every day. Jump and enjoy yourself day and night. Put on clean clothes. Wash your head and bathe in water. Look at the child who holds you by the hand and be happy. And make your wife happy in your embrace, for this too is a law of man. That goes to say that she's telling him, you know what? Enjoy your life. Enjoy what you have. And that's kind of a principal element that is reflective in Sumerian times. Now, whether or not the Siduri or Shiduri, or Siduri, depending on whatever translation you want, was a goddess or not, we don't really know. We could just be misinterpreting something, but because we don't have a complete picture, we don't know the full scale of her aspects. However, we do see reflections of her goddess oversights, so to speak, with Dionysus and Bacchus, as I mentioned earlier, and really how we live as people. That's really what it says. So you can enjoy life and look for your own Siduri or Shiduri, whether it be a moment of thought or a person. So with that, why don't we just go ahead and grab a glass of wine, grab a beer, open it up, and enjoy and live life to the fullest. Whoa! Hey there! Look, I have my own Siduri here, my joy and love of life.
Hi, I'm the goddess.